This video is for anyone who enjoys a good sweet treat every once in a while. And homemade treats are far superior to the pre-packaged stuff that's available out there. If you're anything like me, the time factor plays a big part in whether or not my family is gonna get a homemade treat. That's where my shelf-stable dessert mixes come in. You can make up these jars ahead of time, and then dessert is only a few minutes away. Today, I'll show you 5 of our favorite sweet treats, and most of these are just add water mixes. The chocolate pudding is just like my grandma's, y'all. It's rich and smooth. I've even used it as a filling for chocolate pie, and it's perfect for that. The lemon squares, they're both tart and sweet. They're really a fun treat, just so ooey gooey and yummy. My Just Add Water chocolate chip cookie mix is the most viewed mix on my channel. It's a wonderful recipe that took a good bit of time to develop, but it was definitely worth it. My yellow cake mix or vanilla cake mix, it's just like a boxed mix from the grocery store, but the ingredients are much cleaner and all you have to do is add water. And finally, my fudgy brownie mix is such a delight, especially when it's topped with some vanilla ice cream. Good. I hope y'all enjoyed this compilation video of some of my very favorite sweet treat recipes from my channel. Welcome to the Freeze Dried Foodie. My name's Kareth. Here you'll find delicious recipes that feature freeze-dried ingredients. Now, I use a lot of Thrivalist, but they've gone out of business and you can use other brands in my recipes. Lots of us have food stores that we need to know how to cook with. On this channel, I'll show you how I cook with mine. To start us off, I've got my almost instant chocolate pudding mix. I call it almost instant because it's really not instant. You have to actually cook it on the stove for a few minutes. So it's kind of like one of those boxes of cook and serve pudding that you could get at the grocery store, except this one has only ingredients that you can pronounce in it, which is pretty great, right? Although this pudding is not exactly instant, it is really convenient to have these jars prepped and ready on your pantry shelf. You'll start with a pint-sized jar. This is going to give you at least 4 servings. It's really rich, so I think more like 5. In the bottom of your jar is going to go some instant milk, and then you need to sweeten it up. I'm using 2/3 of a cup of sugar here, followed by 1/4 cup of the unsweetened cocoa powder. The butter powder and the vanilla powder go in next. The butter powder is going to make it really nice and rich. And you need something to thicken it with, so I'm using cornstarch. Now these next 2 ingredients I learned about from Ina Garten, the Barefoot Contessa on Food Network. She says that if you add a little bit of instant coffee to your chocolate, it makes your chocolate taste chocolatier. And then a little pinch of salt helps all the flavors to taste better. Even in sweet things, you need a little bit of salt. And then you'll need to keep some chocolate chips separate. So I put them in a little baggie and put them at the top of my jar. I'm using the mini chocolate chips just because that's what I had. You could use any kind of chocolate chip. And this is the jar that you could keep stored on your pantry shelf. And the idea here is it's the equivalent of storing one of those little boxes of pudding mix, right? So whenever you're ready to make it, it's ready for you. Whenever you want to prepare this little treat, you'll get out a medium-sized pan and then set that little baggie of chocolate chips to the side. We're going to add those at the end, and in goes the contents of your jar. You'll need to get a whisk for this recipe. Go ahead and whisk those ingredients and get them nice and combined. And all you have to do is add 2 cups of water, and that's it. Now, if you've ever tried to combine cocoa powder with liquid before, you'll understand that you kind of have to take your time here. It takes a bit before that wants to combine, but eventually it will. And definitely whenever you give it some heat, it will dissolve whenever everything's heated up. You do need to stir this pretty often just because it will tend to stick on you, especially after that liquid starts to thicken and gets really hot. it will definitely want to stick on the bottom. So you need to whisk this pretty constantly. Once it comes to a boil, you just need to let it boil for about 3 minutes, and that's over medium heat. And like I said, you need to stir it pretty constantly at that point, or else it will stick. So after about 3 minutes of the boil and the whisk, you can turn off your heat and take it off the stove. And now you can add those chocolate chips. And because the mixture is so very hot, they really do melt almost immediately. Just stir it for a little while, whisk it in there, make sure it's nice and melted and good and smooth. Now I do like to add an optional ingredient here, and that's 2 tablespoons of butter. Now it is optional, you don't have to do it, it's good without it, but I love it. So if you have the butter, go ahead and put it in there. It makes it nice and glossy. That fat gives it extra flavor, and it does improve the texture a little bit. So you'll want to put this into a bowl or something else and refrigerate it. You'll need to cover it and refrigerate it for a few hours until it's completely set and cold. Now here's an optional topping for you. I like to put whipped cream on that chocolate pudding, so I thought I'd show you how to make a strawberry whipped cream. You'll want to take about half a cup of freeze-dried strawberries and powder them completely. You want like no chunks left in there, good and powdered. And then to that blender cup, you can just add about 3/4 of a cup, maybe a cup of heavy cream. I just added as much as I had, I ran out. And then you definitely want to stir this. I forgot to stir it when I was filming, but you definitely want to stir it and then whip it for about 10 seconds. That's all you need. You see how the powder stuck to what became the top there? Anyway, so I got a long spoon and I stirred it in. But yeah, that's all it takes is like 10 seconds in that blender cup to make whipped cream. It's the quickest way to make whipped cream. And you can sweeten that up with just a little bit of powdered sugar. Now you don't have to sweeten it, but I think it needs it. One more blast of the blender and it's completely ready. It's super nice and thick. And I don't know if you can tell or not, because I don't know if my camera really picked this up, but that's a beautiful pale pink color. And it's so tasty. It's really good on this chocolate pudding. So now that it's completely cooled in the refrigerator, it's ready to serve. See how nice and thick it gets? It's completely congealed, just like a pudding mix that you would get at the store would do. Except this one, you know exactly what you put in it. And this is more like the old-fashioned chocolate pudding that my grandma would make. I just think it's so tasty. I love the texture. I don't think you can tell from my camera, but it's actually a super smooth texture. And it's great with that strawberry whipped cream. I love the dark, rich chocolate color. And the flavor is amazing. So when you put vanilla powder in there, as well as that instant coffee, it just gives you a really nice depth of flavor to that chocolate pudding. And this is something that you could serve to guests. It is really, really good. Up next, my ooey gooey lemon squares. Y'all, these are tart and sweet. They're so yummy. Definitely a favorite around here. Super fun and really bright, tart, lemony flavor. It's really a cross between a lemon bar and an ooey gooey cake and a Neiman Marcus bar, if y'all have ever tried any of those things. I combined a couple of recipes that I like. This one is in honor of my mother-in-law because lemon flavored anything is her favorite dessert. So here you go, Nana. All right, you're gonna need 2 jars to do this recipe. The first jar, let's put the cake batter in. And I'm going to use a 24-ounce jar because I think it looks really pretty for the pictures. Do not worry if you don't have a 24-ounce jar. They're kind of hard to come by sometimes. You can just use a quart-sized jar for this if you don't have one of these 3-cup jars. I'm going to start by putting a cup of all-purpose flour in the bottom of the jar. And then on top of that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of our scrambled egg mix. I love using our scrambled egg mix in baking recipes. Sour cream powder is going to really add some richness, and it's so creamy. It's delicious. We'll need some kosher salt and baking soda. That baking soda is going to react with the lemon, and the salt is great for contrast of flavor. All right, I've got 3/4 cup of sugar. And the lemon flavor is going to come from the True Lemon packets. Now, I got these at Walmart, but you can also get them on Amazon, and I'll link to that below in the description box. All right, so there's our first jar. And in our second jar, we're going to do the ooey gooey layer part, okay? And in a way, this is like a cheesecake batter. You'll see what I mean here. I'm going to start with 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and then to that sugar, we're going to add some scrambled egg mix, and that's just 1.5 tablespoons. And then 3/4 cup of the cream cheese powder. Now, I did get that on Amazon. I'm using the Judy's brand. I'll link to that below. A little bit of vanilla powder and a little bit of salt. We're going to make this cheesecake layer lemony as well by adding some True Lemon packets here. Thrivalist used to sell some lemonade powder, so you could use that instead. Or if you just have lemon powder that you've ordered, you'll need about 1.5 teaspoons in that ooey gooey layer. So here are the jars that you could keep stored on your shelf. Let's start with the cake batter first. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. You can remove that baggie of lemon packets. Now, if you're just going to use lemon powder, you can put it straight into the jar, about 2 teaspoons worth. All right, into the bowl goes the cake batter ingredients, as well as the lemon powder. And this is enough lemon powder to make it nice and lemony. You're not going to be wondering, is that supposed to be a lemon flavor? No, it is very pronounced, especially because it's in both the cake batter and the ooey gooey layer. So give that a stir, and then you're going to add 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water, and then 3 tablespoons of some sort of oil. I used coconut oil. You could use avocado oil, just something neutral flavored. Give that a stir to combine everything, and that's all there is to the cake batter layer. Every once in a while, I really enjoy doing recipes like this, just a treat, a dessert, something special, because if you're eating from your food stores, it can get boring and repetitive, and this is really refreshing and fun. So you can just set that to the side. And now let's work on the ooey gooey layer. Another medium-sized bowl. You will remove the lemon packets and empty your ingredients into the bowl, and then add the lemon packets to it. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. When we add the water, you'll understand what I mean about it's kind of like a cheesecake layer here. But it's so yummy how it bakes into the cake layer. And if you've ever had an ooey gooey butter cake, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So delicious. All right, give that a stir and add about 3.5 tablespoons of water. I'll show you what it should look like. And if you need to add a little bit more water in order to get it to that consistency, you can add water a teaspoon at a time. All right, so this is the consistency you want here. You want that batter to ribbon onto itself. Now, what I did here was I took a 9-inch square cake pan and I lined it with some parchment paper. I just snipped the edges so it would lay flat. And first you'll add the cake batter and go ahead and ooch it into the corners. And then you're just gonna pour on that ooey gooey cheesecake batter, and it should just ribbon on the top. You don't want to stir this. Try to get complete coverage here. Fill in all those spaces with that batter. And, you know, if there's some gaps, don't worry about it. This is homemade food. You'll want to bake this at 350 degrees for somewhere between 25 and 28 minutes. I pulled mine out at 27 minutes, and this is what it looked like. It gets nice and browned on the top, and it's really glossy. You don't want to take it any further than that, though. I took mine just probably a minute too far, actually. But this is the hard part. You have to let it completely cool, at least 2 hours, okay, before you lift it out. That parchment paper just makes a sleeve, and it makes it really easy to remove from the pan. And then you can cut it into squares. Now, I did wipe my knife blade in between cuts, which seemed to help because it's very sticky and it will stick to your knife. And then you can just plate these up. And they're bars or squares, and so no utensils required. But aren't they gorgeous? And you can see, hopefully the camera is showing how these two layers just kind of melt into each other. And the bottom layer, that cake layer, it's kind of dense, what you would think of like a bar. It acts like a crust almost. And then the top layer, that lemony, ooey gooey, cheesecakey layer, it's sticky and sweet and kind of shiny. But I hope the camera picks this up. You can tell that the ooey gooey layer on the top is so nice and moist. And it makes these really fun to eat too. They're kind of sticky. They're really yummy. And see, the cake is pretty much on the bottom and the cheesecake layer is on the top. And y'all, it's so good. Really great recipe here. I hope y'all try this. If you like lemon bars, I think you're gonna like this. I'm gonna make these for my mother-in-law for Easter, but I just thought it's springtime. And yeah, I wanna make something with lemon. All right, up next is my delicious Just Add Water chocolate chip cookie mix. There are actually not a lot of ingredients that go into this mix. It's a very standard chocolate chip cookie mix. You will recognize most of the ingredients here: flour, sugar, brown sugar, soda, salt, and of course we need eggs. But you're also going to need some sort of fat, okay? And I found this buttery flavor coconut oil is perfect. And then the other secret ingredient, that brown butter seasoning from McCormick, that in combination with the vanilla, y'all, this is just so close to a traditional chocolate chip cookie, like my regular recipe. It's astounding to me. My family loves it. Just so you know, I don't have room in the description box of this compilation video to write each one of these individual recipes. There's just not enough character space in that description box. So what I have to do is I have to include links in the description box below for the original videos, which is where you can find all of these written recipes. I'll also include the links where you can get these, quote, secret ingredients, the coconut oil and the brown butter seasoning. And I'm telling you, those two things make a huge difference in this recipe. So when you're ready to put together the mix, just get out your food processor, and then in goes all of the dry ingredients first. So I'm putting flour, some white sugar. I do pack the brown sugar just a little bit. The scrambled egg mix that I'm using is the Thrivalist brand. Since they're closing their doors, you won't be able to buy that anymore. So whatever brand you use, like you can use other brands, but you need to use the kind that includes the entire egg. And it's the equivalent of 1 egg. Now, some people use baking powder and baking soda in their chocolate chip cookie recipe. I have never done that. I've been a baking soda girl, and that's something that I got from, I think it's the back of the Nestle Toll House chocolate chips, the recipe that's on there. That's the one I used for years, and it's great. Okay, here's a closer look at that McCormick's brand of brown butter seasoning. Like the perfect little addition to make these taste like you have done that extra step in browning your butter and adding it to your chocolate chip cookies. It's fantastic, but don't put more than like a teaspoon of it in there because it does get a little bit salty on you. All right, go ahead and pulse those dry ingredients and mix them up. And here is that Nutiva brand of coconut oil. It's the buttery flavor one. It's just so perfect in this recipe. You'll get a fantastic butter flavor. Now, it's a solid at room temperature oil, but it's really hot here, and mine had melted just a little bit. You can pop it in the fridge and firm it up if you need to, but it should work really well. It's a shelf-stable oil, and your mix should be fine at room temperature on the shelf after you combine it all together. So since mine was a little bit on the soft side, I did stop the food processor a couple of different times, and I tried to just scrape it from the bottom and make sure that that oil got really well incorporated into the rest of the ingredients. So if yours looks the same, go ahead and stop it a couple of times and scrape it. And you just want to make sure you have a really well mixed mix here. You can try this with other brands of coconut oil. I think they sell it in big tubs at Costco. I think it would work with any kind of coconut oil, just so it's a shelf-stable coconut oil and a solid coconut oil. Yeah, so that is the texture you're looking for in your mix. It looks just like wet sand. You can store this in a quart-sized jar. You'll have to press it down in order to fit the chocolate chips. And I think that's the appeal here, is that everything is in one jar. So, if you want to store it in a jar that's separate, you can, but you don't have to. You can press down that cookie mix and fit a little over a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips in the top. All right, so this is the jar that you could store on your pantry shelf, or like this is what I'm thinking, this is the jar that you could give as a gift, Christmas gift, birthday gift, whatever. Everything's in that one jar. Put a little ribbon around it. Put the little baking instructions on the tag. Wouldn't that be so cute, y'all? All right, shameless plug. I'm going to show y'all and tell you about my cookbooks. I've written 2 cookbooks for shelf-stable meals and mixes, and I wrote them with Thrivalist ingredients in mind because that's what I have sold for 3 years. But you can actually use other brands and even your own home freeze-dried foods in these recipes. You can find the paperback on Amazon and the digital form on my website. I will link to both below. Whenever you're ready to bake these, you will get out a large bowl and then empty your mix into the bowl, chocolate chips and all. Now, I did have to get out a spoon and loosen up that mix just a little bit, but then it all came out just fine. And here it is, guys. The magic of this whole thing is you just add water, okay? It's 5 tablespoons of tap water, and that's all there is to it. And that's because all you're really needing to do with that water is activate those eggs and hydrate that flour a little bit. It seems like, wow, that's not a lot of water. And it's not, but that's really all you need. I have done, I want to say 5 or 6 versions of this cookie dough mix, trying to perfect this recipe. The first time I did it, I put way too much water in it, and it was like a batter. So I have learned, yeah, you don't really need more than that as far as the water goes. I'm going to try and show you here the consistency after you mix that water in. See, it's just a great consistency for a cookie dough. You don't want a cookie batter, you want a cookie dough. And then I just got out my scooper. It's probably about 1.5 tablespoons, but I did heaping 1.5 tablespoons. So that's probably more like at least 2 tablespoons each. And I got 20 cookie dough balls out of this. Now, what you want to do is cook it at 350 for 10 minutes and then bring it out and drop the pan. And I saw this online, and it was a great trick. You want to drop the pan a couple of times and create those crinkles on the top. So you cook it for 10 minutes, drop the pan a couple times, put it back in the oven, and bake it for another 5 minutes or so. That will give you a really nice caramelization inside of the cookie, and it will crinkle the tops. Instead of having domes, you'll have these crinkle cookies, and that's really what you want. You want to make sure that the bottoms are really nice and browned. And if you bring them out and you notice that they're just kind of flimsy on the bottom, put them back in the oven. Don't be afraid to put these back in the oven. I actually had to do that. I had to put them back in the oven and cook them longer. They just weren't brown enough. They weren't done enough. So don't be afraid. Just put them back in, let them cook. They need to cook until they're done. And then you can bring them out, let them cool on the tray for a couple of minutes, and then transfer them to a wire rack to cool. But I think they're great warm. My husband and I both agree these cookies are fantastic warm. They're good at any temperature because they're just that tasty. Here's a good look at what your bottoms should look like. They should be nice and caramelly and toasty on the bottom. These should not be flimsy. When you get that perfection on the bottom, your edges will be a little bit crisp, and then the middles will be super soft and almost caramel-like. Y'all, the flavor here is so perfect. It's one of those recipes, like when my daughter tried it, her eyes just rolled back and she said, "These are so good, Mom." And oh gosh, y'all, I'm just really pleased with the recipe. I'm so excited to share it with you. I think that giving these as a gift is wonderful. You only have to have water on hand to make these. The other cookie dough mix in a jar recipes that I've seen out there on the internet, they're cute as a button and everybody loves them. I'm not knocking those at all. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And every one of those mixes that I've seen, all of them require for you to add softened butter, eggs, and vanilla. Well, in my mix, all of those things are kind of already in there. The fact that you just add water to these, that's a game changer. It just makes these so special. And I think anybody would love to get this as a gift. And I'm just telling you, they are so good. There's no way anybody would ever guess that these, just sat on your pantry shelf and all you did to make them was add water. There's just no way. They're fantastic, y'all. I'm so excited for you to try them. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. The information I am about to share with you is dangerous. So, you have been warned. My husband and I have figured out what we really like to do in the evenings is make like 2 chocolate chip cookies. Fresh chocolate chip cookies. Maybe 4, okay? Maybe 4. But if you have the mix on your shelf and you just don't put the chocolate chips in the top, you just have the mix by itself, what you can do is make like a custom amount of chocolate chip cookies fresh whenever you need them. For every slightly packed and heaping 1/4 cup of mix, you need 1 teaspoon of water. You just need a little bit just to wake up the eggs in there. That's really all you need. And then you can add to that as many chocolate chips as you like. What I'm showing you here is half a cup, rounded half a cup of mix, 2 teaspoons of water, handful of chocolate chips, and then I made 3 big cookies. I should have really made 4. I had to cook them a little bit longer to get them done all the way through. But oh my word, we had fresh chocolate chip cookies. I'm not going to tell you how many days that week we had fresh chocolate chip cookies because it's embarrassing. But oh, y'all, they are so good. My husband says these are the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever made. Like I said, you've been warned. You must use some self-control here. Full disclosure, I have not had this mix sitting around on my shelf for longer than a couple of weeks because we just keep using it up and making the cookies. So I don't think there's anything in there that is going to go bad on you. I think it should be just fine sitting on your pantry shelf for 3 to 4 months. This next recipe is for a yellow cake mix or a vanilla cake mix. It will make either 1 9-inch round cake or a dozen cupcakes. Now, if you're new here, it might be helpful to know that for the past several years, I've been creating recipes here on my YouTube channel for shelf-stable mixes and meals. But unlike some other channels, I don't really take other people's recipes and then show you how to make them. Lots of people do that, and that's fine, but I don't do that. I develop my own recipes. I experiment a lot in the kitchen. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, creativity, thinking outside the box a lot, and it takes lots of resources in order to be able to do that. But that's just been my goal from the beginning. That's just what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to offer something unique. Most of my recipes have been inspired by my mom's old recipe box, and I've converted them to be shelf stable. So a lot of my recipes are the ones that I grew up eating. And I've always wanted to figure out how to make a just add water cake mix that tastes just like a regular boxed cake mix from the grocery store. And that's what I've done with this recipe, okay? The milk, the eggs, the fat, they're already in the mix. So all you have to do is add water. Now, the way I'm able to bring you a bouncy, tender, kind of spongy crumb is these techniques that I'm going to show you in this recipe. So if you want that light, fluffy, tender crumb, then you need to do this specific technique and this recipe that I'm going to show you today. You're going to love being able to give this as a gift. It starts out by processing some sugar in the food processor. So you need to get a really fine sugar. You can buy sugar that's ultra fine, like a castor sugar. I didn't have any, so I just processed my regular sugar in the food processor first for maybe 30 seconds or a minute, something like that. I wanted it ultra fine. And then I'm going to add the rest of the dry ingredients. I think it's best if you use cake flour. I don't have cake flour, and I don't know that a lot of people do. So you can make your own cake flour by combining all-purpose flour with some cornstarch. And then the rest of these ingredients are pretty normal for a boxed cake mix. It's got baking powder. I'm going to put some salt in there. And I'm going to include instant milk powder. Instant milk powder is a little bit different than powdered milk. I've never made it with powdered milk. I'm kind of assuming it would work. And then also some scrambled egg mix from Thrivalist. I bought a bunch of these because they're going out of business, and it bakes up beautifully. That is definitely one of the key ingredients here is this scrambled egg mix. I'm including butter powder in here because of the flavor, not because of the fat content. It doesn't have a lot of fat content, but the butter flavor is fantastic in here. I'm using both powdered vanilla and powdered almond extracts. If you don't have the powdered almond, don't go out and buy it. Don't worry about it. You can just use the vanilla. And then you want to pulse those dry ingredients and get them mixed before you add the fat. I'm using lard because this is what I grew up using. I like to use lard. I use it for all of my mixes, like my biscuit mix, my pie crust mix, that kind of thing. You could use shortening if you're if you're a shortening kind of person, that should work just the same. I've never used it, but that's what I hear, is that it will work the same. So you need to incorporate this really well into the dry mix so that it becomes a homogeneous mix. You want to let that go for probably 30 seconds or so in the food processor. And this is the texture and the consistency you're looking for in your cake mix. It should be nice and fine. And this is what you could keep stored on your pantry shelf. So I'm transferring that into a quart-sized jar. This recipe is going to make 1 9-inch round cake. Now it will fit into a quart-sized jar. You might have to pat it down and then the ingredients will settle and it will fit. So there's your jar that you could keep stored on your pantry shelf for up to 3 or 4 months. Because it has the lard in it, I would not store it for longer than that. And of course, these make amazing gifts. If you wanted to do a 9 by 13, you could make 2 of these, double this recipe. When you're ready to make this cake, you're going to get out a large bowl and add very hot water to it. And that's all you're going to have to add. I got that hot water straight out of my faucet, and I just got it as hot as it would come out. And the reason you want to add hot water is because it's going to help to melt the lard a little bit. You want it to be a really smooth batter. And then, just like you would do on a boxed cake mix, how they say with a hand mixer, fluff this up for about 1 to 2 minutes. You're going to do that exact same thing with my cake mix. You need to use a hand mixer and let it go between 1 and 2 minutes until you can see those ribbons developing in there. And you're incorporating a lot of air, and you're going to make this batter really light and fluffy. That's what you're looking for, is for the batter to ribbon on itself as you pour it in. You can lightly smooth it out. I've got some parchment paper lining my cake pan, but don't tap it down, okay? If you tap it, it kind of makes it more dense. So don't tap it, just bake it. And then you can just bake for however long it takes. So where it passes a toothpick test, I baked mine somewhere like 23 minutes, 25 minutes in a 350 oven. You have to let it cool completely, of course, before you ice your cake. I just peeled off that parchment paper, put it on a plate, and while it was baking, I made some icing. I make my icing out of butter, powdered sugar, cocoa powder, because I wanted chocolate icing, just a pinch of salt, a little bit of half and half, I think I put in there. And y'all, I'm not much of a baker. I don't know how to decorate cakes for sure. I mean, I didn't even make enough icing to do the sides of my cake. You'll see that in just a minute. But, whenever you make your icing, make sure you have enough to do the sides if that's what you want to do. My family, we just don't care. Just look at that cake. Didn't it turn out pretty? And what I like to do, you can serve it up at this point. If you just cut it into wedges, you'd probably get at least 8 good-sized pieces of cake. But what I like to do to pretend like we're fancy is I cut it in half and then I just stack it on itself. So it looks like, a really nice layered cake. And then you could get at least 6 pretty good sized wedges of cake out of that. And just look how gorgeous she is. She is so beautiful. Now, let me talk just a little bit about why we like boxed cake mixes, right? Not only are they convenient, they last for years on the shelf, but they're also very consistent when you bake them up. They're easy. It eliminates kind of user error because there's no experience required when you make a boxed cake mix. But the bad thing is they usually have preservatives, there's additives, they put stabilizers in there and emulsifiers so that your cake turns out, bouncy and tender and spongy and delicious and consistently wonderful every time. Well, mine doesn't have that in there, right? But just look at how bouncy she is whenever you put the edge of that fork against the icing, press down. and get that perfectly moist layer of yummy cake. This stuff is fantastic. I'm telling you, I'm so pleased with this recipe. And this is not my first version of it. Let me tell you, I have done several versions. This is the best recipe for a just add water DIY homemade cake mix. This is it. If you'll use my techniques that I talked about in this video, if you'll use this specific recipe, you're going to come out with a light, fluffy, bouncy, tender, delicious, and fantastic homemade cake. And finally, I'll show you my Just Add Water brownie mix. These are wonderful. I'll zoom in here so you can get a better look at the ingredients. I am going to be using some malted milk powder in this. I call that my secret ingredient. It adds a really nice richness, toastiness, kind of depth of flavor. And of course, I've got the Thrivalist scrambled egg mix and butter powder. Y'all, please drop in the comments below the brands that you use because, you know, Thrivalist going out of business, we're not going to be able to buy that anymore. You'll need to get out your food processor for this recipe. And then we're going to put all the dry ingredients in the food processor, as well as the fat that has to go into the brownie mix. Because this is going to be, like I said in the intro, this is going to be a just add water mix. And so we're going to need to put it in the food processor and process that until it's really, really smooth. My brownie mix does not have a lot of flour in it, but it does include powdered sugar. And I like the powdered sugar because it gives the top of the brownies that nice glossy, kind of crackly surface. Now, here's my secret ingredient, that malted milk powder. You can find that in a regular grocery store. They have a Carnation brand of it as well. It's kind of by the chocolate milk drink mixes and stuff like that. And it's so good in here. I love using the scrambled egg mix from Thrivalist. But y'all, please, tell me what kind of brands you use. I have heard that the Ova Easy Eggs, I've heard that those are good. I'm also including some butter powder here. It's really not for the fat, it's just for the flavor. I'm using the Dutch processed cocoa powder, but you could use just regular Hershey's cocoa powder if that's what you have. And the vanilla powder is great in here. The Cook's brand you can get on Amazon, and I will link that below. I have Amazon links below for some of these ingredients. I always appreciate it when you click on my link and shop through my link. That always helps me because it supports my channel and helps me to keep doing what I do. Now, instant coffee granules. I do include like a half a teaspoon of instant coffee in these rich chocolatey brownies because I learned from Ina Garten, the Barefoot Contessa, that instant coffee helps anything with chocolate in it to taste chocolatier. It doesn't make it taste like coffee, it just helps the chocolate taste even better. So you'll go ahead and pulse those dry ingredients before you add the fat. Now I'm going to be using lard. You need some sort of a solid fat. And I've heard that you can use shortening as well. I've never used shortening. I'm a lard girl. That's what I grew up using. But I've heard that shortening works just the same. Go ahead, put the shortening in there and then pulse that a few times to combine those ingredients. And then you can just turn it on. And you need to process this mix for at least 30 seconds or so until it's really nicely combined. You want a homogeneous kind of a mix where everything is just really evenly distributed throughout the mix. And you'll notice as you do that it gets a little bit darker in color when you add that fat. And this is the texture or the consistency you're looking for in your mix. And that is what you can add to your quart-sized jar. Now you will need to tap this down as you add it because you're going to think, oh, there's no way it's going to fit in there. But if you'll tap it down maybe halfway and then continue to fill that jar and then tap it down again several times, it does fit. And I love giving this as a gift. It's just so cute. You know, if you put a little bit of a ribbon on there, you could put a cute little tag with the baking instructions. Now, since this mix includes the lard in the mix, you can only store this for 3 to 4 months. So here is the jar you can keep on your shelf. And if you don't like storing things in plastic, that's just some chocolate chips in that plastic bag, you could put those in a 1/2 pint jar and give that along with this. And those chocolate chips are optional. I like to add them, but they are optional. You could add other things as well. Whenever you're ready to make these brownies, you'll get out a large bowl. In goes the mix and 2/3 of a cup of hot water. And the reason I like to add the hot water is because that hot water is going to help the lard that's in the mix to start to melt. And it's just gonna give it a little bit of a head start there. It also makes sure that the coffee granules, the instant coffee that goes in there, is completely dissolved. And I just like to add the hot water. I think it gives you a better texture. And like anytime you make brownie mix, you just want to mix it until there's no more pockets of dry powder. And then you can add those chocolate chips. Now these are mini chocolate chips, just semi-sweet, but you could put like kind of whatever you want in here if you want a different addition. I'm thinking you could put walnuts in here, or toasted pecans, or chocolate chunks, whatever you like. You could probably put peanut butter chips. It's totally up to you. But just look how glossy and wonderful that batter is. It's so beautiful. All right, and then you'll want to pour this into a prepared pan. That's a 9x9 cake pan that I have lined with parchment paper. And oh yeah, by the way, you have to preheat your oven before you start this whole process, because as you can tell, it comes together really, really fast. So make sure your oven is preheated to 350. You can smooth out that batter. Just make sure it ooches into the corners. It's a very technical term, ooch. My mom used that term. It's the perfect term for making sure your batter is in the corners. All right, y'all, just keeping it real. This is what the dishes situation looks like. I mean, it's only going to be about half that if you're only baking them or if you're only creating the mix. But I did them both today, so it's quite a few dishes. All right, after about 25 minutes, you can bring those out of the oven. Everybody likes their brownies at a different level of doneness. This is how done I like my brownies, is the 25-minute mark. I put those out onto a wire rack and let them cool. And here I will show you the interior of that brownie. It's done all the way through, but it's still very moist. And just look at how gorgeous these brownies are. I got 16 squares out of my pan of brownies, and my goodness, I just think they're so beautiful. I love how the tops get nice and shiny and a little crackly. I hope the camera is picking this up, but guys, these brownies are just so moist and fudgy and rich, and they taste absolutely amazing. I think that malted milk powder in there really brings out a depth of flavor that I just am in love with. And I'm hoping that y'all will make this mix, bake the brownies, and then let me know what you think. Now, we like to serve brownies a little bit warm with a scoop of vanilla bean ice cream. That's just my favorite way to do it. And of course, they're great on their own, but I tell you what, just a little scoop of ice cream on there, mwah, so good. The flavor of these is just incredible. You're just not going to believe that this came out of a shelf-stable mix and all you did was add water. It's just fantastic. Well, all right, y'all, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. That just means so much to me. I really do appreciate you. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button, because that just helps YouTube to know it's a good video and they will offer it to other people who might also find it to be helpful. Now, as you can imagine, I have lots of other recipes for treats and desserts on my channel. I'll put some pictures up here on the screen for you to see. If you want those recipes, just visit my channel and hit the videos tab, and then you can peruse through all of my older videos and look for those recipes. All right, I like to end my videos with a scripture verse of the day, and today's verse comes from the book of Colossians, chapter 2. I'll start reading at verse 13. And you, who were dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. Amen. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, a blessed week, and until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.